Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sat Song, our meditation meeting. I'm Craig Kimbrough. As always, glad to have you along on this journey into the world of spirituality, metaphysics, and meditation. And of course, I'm with PositiveGuru.com. Glad to be here and glad to have you here with me. I've had an interesting experience. Oh, actually started this morning. I was questioning some things in my mind and looking for a sign, looking for an answer. And in the process of looking for a sign, looking for an answer, I also figured that I really didn't have a subject matter for today, but I figured, hey, it would come about throughout the process. But I was looking for a sign for some things in my life. I go through these little time periods. They may only last a half hour or so or an hour, but I go through these little times where I need a sign. There's something that I need to have an answer to. And sometimes that sign may just be like, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do to be enthused about life now? Or what is my purpose at this moment? Even though intellectually I already know what my purpose is. But maybe in that moment, I don't 100% feel it. Maybe I'm struggling with something that's going on. And usually when I'm struggling with it, it's because I'm trying to handle it with my own, I don't know, my own conscious mind. So I was kind of going through that for a hot second this morning. And I was just thinking about some things. And at one point, I noticed that my plants on my porch had like rebloomed. They were they were dying, and just actually the day before they were pretty much dying. It came out the day before, and they were wilting, and I have 4 sets of plants on my balcony, and 2 of them have been slowly dying, I guess, on me. And the other 2 have been somewhat flourishing, but the 2 on the end, they have like 4 in a row, and the 2 on the end were flourishing. They were the same type, and the 2 in the middle were the same type. The 2 in the middle, they were going sooner, but now these 2 on the end were going. And I was like, man, did I forget to water one day? Or have I just not watered as much as I should? I know it's been extremely hot, but what's going on? And but this morning, as I said, they were reblossoming. I mean, incredibly. And I thought about the day before. I also thought about the page I opened up to in 30 Days of Metaphysics and Miracles in Your World. And the page one of the pages I'd opened up to 3 pages. The first page I opened up to was saying how nothing just happens, everything happens just. And that was sort of helping me with one of the things that I was trying to figure out. Maybe some things that I needed to put more attention on, and just some things that I had neglected in my world, I felt like, in my business world. And so I was kind of focused on that. Nothing just happens, everything happens, just kind of remembering that, hey, for whatever reason, this has happened for a reason. And when I lean into the lesson, it's going to be a beautiful situation. So I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about this because I'm looking at these plants that all of a sudden just started reblossoming, and I thought about the day before. The day before, when I saw just how much they were wilting and so forth, I was saying to myself, I was thinking about challenges in my world, and I was saying to myself, man, if I hopefully add enough water to these plants, I want to see them flourishing by tomorrow. Now, when I say flourishing, I mean I just wanted to see them starting to no longer be wilting over, but starting to come to life. And I knew 2 of them that maybe there was a possibility that I see them raise up a little bit. The 2 in the middle, I kind of thought they were dead, and I was going to throw them away, but I just felt guilty. I didn't want to throw them away unless I knew they were totally dead. They're all dried out looking and so forth. So Um, Yesterday I took a whole bunch of water, more than I would normally put on the plants, and I gave them water, all four of them, and told myself, I said, now, if me adding attention to these plants, the water, even my thoughts and attention to these plants, if it can make these plants come back in one day, that will be my sign that I can make these other areas in my life come back to where I want them to come. But in order for me to believe that, I have to see it happen in one day. And I didn't think it was really going to be a big difference, but I said maybe I'll see a little bit. And I forgot about it until I woke up this morning and I saw these plants. And I mean, they were like nothing had ever happened. They were like larger than life. It was amazing. And even the two in the middle, which really caught me off guard, they were coming back. I was like, man, I don't believe this. This is unbelievable. So of course I added my extra water, more than I normally do, again today, to all four plants, and I turned them around because they're all hanging on the balcony. So I turned them around so to where they could get more sunlight on the other sides. I did the same thing yesterday. But I just sat there with my mind blown because I said, man, just in one day, that extra added energy brought them back to life. And then I started thinking, I said, man, I think I did a talk or a post on something like that about the kingdom of heaven. How the kingdom of heaven, I said, has something to do with a dying plant. And so I went to my blog. I turned on the computer, went to my blog, and I went looking for it. I said, I hope I put it in the blog, because if so, that'll make it very easy to pull up. I can put it in the search, and I'll put the subject in the search, and I'll be able to see it, because I wanted to read that again if it was there. So I put in water to a dying plant, and there it was. It was saying, entering the kingdom of heaven is like adding water to a dying plant. And I had done the post in 2013. And it was blowing my mind, because as I was reading this post, it was describing the same situation 7 years ago. And it was talking about how I had plants on my balcony of my home back then, and I had added water to them more than usual again. They were starting to go a little bit, and how just in one day they seemed to come back. And it was just so incredible to me, because it was the same exact situation. And I was saying to myself, man, this is crazy. You know, this is that whole nothing just happens, everything happens just. When I walked out there and I looked at those plants, it was like it woke me up. It had re-energized me, just seeing the way those plants came to life. I was struggling with some things at that time, and I knew when I saw those plants, like, that's my sign. That is my sign. The same way those plants came back to life in one day, just like I talked about yesterday. This is what's going to happen with the energy in my world. It's going to come back. It's going to come back right now. And it's going to be unmistakable. It's going to be incredible, just like the amount of energy I saw those plants. And it's funny, because I always say, when God wants to give you a message, or God wants to tell you something, the universe, God will go overboard and do it in a way that's sort of unbelievable. Yeah, I thought yesterday that maybe if I added this attention to the plants, that maybe I'd see a little bit more growth and see it begin to come back. I did not believe or even think that it was possible that I would see them come back on the level that they came back, and even go beyond. The two on the end went beyond, two in the middle were really beginning to come back. I just couldn't believe it, the level that it happened. But quite often, whenever God is giving me a sign, it does it. God in the universe does it in a way that is so overboard, so over the top, that it's unmistakable. If it was just starting to come back a little, maybe I'd have had a little faith. But God said, no, I'm going to show you. It's the same way with this kingdom of heaven. And then when I go back and I remember this entering the kingdom of heaven, it's like adding water to a dying plant. And I look it up, it just blew my mind. It was the same exact situation 7 years ago. Now, in our lives, it's the same way. When we enter the kingdom of heaven, when we begin to put the attention of our incredible focus on heaven, here and now, in our lives, it's like adding water to a dying plant. We become re-energized, even beyond re-energized. If we've never been lit up, we get that for the first time when we really begin to put the attention on the kingdom. And in that post, it talked about how over the years I discovered various ways of entering the kingdom. As a matter of fact, I'm going to really get busy on bringing that book out about entering the kingdom of heaven, because we can do it at any time through various methods. And just any one of those methods will bring us back in. And we come back in, then we have the experiences of heaven. We have God give us signs to show us things that we normally don't experience. I remember one time I was talking to Mr. Ambrister about how I was seeing these little particles in the air and I was barely feeling my body. He says, "Oh, you saw the sawdust?" I said, "Yes." And that's what it looked like. It looked like it was raining, like this sawdust. He's like, yes, honey, that is real. I was like, oh my goodness. And I have other incredible sensations where the whole room is just lit up, where you can barely see anything because there's all this haze of light. Those are times in which I am entering the kingdom of heaven. There are times in which the inner sound is so loud I can barely take it, and I just feel so good I can't believe it. Those are times in which my focus ushered me into the kingdom of heaven. It's available for all of us. I found myself talking about this last night. Last night, it's really funny because now I remember some things that I didn't remember earlier about how nothing just happens, everything happens just. Last night, a friend of mine had invited me to come down to this party. And it's like a social, matter of fact, they call it a social distancing party. And it was a Prince social distancing party. And I didn't plan on going. I was a little leery about the whole thing, even though I was going to wear my mask and so forth. And it was outdoors. And people were supposed to be, spaced nice and far apart and so forth. But I was still a little leery about going. And I told my friend, though, the day before, so I said, well, if my son Corey comes home by a certain time and he'll be there with Jordan, then maybe I'll show up. And to my surprise, Corey came home even earlier than I expected, a little bit earlier than usual. And I was like, wow, maybe I should go to that party. I really was kind of not wanting to go, a little bit fearful of maybe I should go. And then last minute, I got this feeling that if I go, something's going to come out of it. So I went. And I got down there and I saw a couple of friends. We talked. My one friend who would invite me down there, I saw him and we had talked, and then I ran to my other friend who was actually putting on the event, and we all talked. And then when it was time, and some other friends who I had just begun to know here recently. And then shortly after it was time to go. Matter of fact, my one friend Lamar was saying, hey Craig, when you get here, you're only going to have 30 minutes. I said, that's all right, I'm coming anyway. I'm on the way. And I just showed up. Well, he asked me, he said, you gonna come with us to the next place? That we're going to Tom's Corner. And I said, well, and I knew in my head that I planned on not going to wherever they were going to go. But for some reason, I found myself saying yes. And then I decided I'm going to back out. So when we talked about it again, I said, I don't think I'm going. I'm a little afraid to go. I don't know if it's going to be a lot of people there. You know, I prefer to social distance as much as possible. He said, dude, it's outside. We don't go any place that's not outside. He said, and it's probably not going to be a lot of people there, and you can basically, I figured I could make up my mind when I got there as to what it looked like. You know, so I went. And when I got there, it was like an outdoor cafe. They had a pool table outside too. They taken the pool table from the bar and set it outside, and and no one was allowed to come inside. And there was just a few people around and so forth. And so we sat at a table and we were talking, and there was this one guy there who was sort of like a music legend, you know. And he was at the other place, and he's a friend of my friend, and I've seen him around a few times and whatnot. And for some reason, he almost seemed like a kindred spirit. But just from what I've seen, the way he acts in this conversation, we've never really had much of a conversation, but we'll see each other and say, "Hey, how you doing?" So at one point, we were sitting there, and we began to have this conversation. And my one friend, you know, he says, "So Craig, what are you doing tomorrow?" And I said, "Well, I have to teach. I have to do this meditation talk tomorrow. But other than my 11 o'clock talk, I'm not doing anything. You know, I have to. He said, "Yeah, I do some stuff in your business." I said, "Yeah, I have to take care of some stuff with the business." So that's my day, the business and the meditation, and it's just some little internal stuff with the business. And then people turn around, and the one guy, the DJ music legend guy, he turns around and he looks. He says, "You teach meditation?" And it just turned into this real deep conversation. And at one point, everybody else went over to play pool, whatever. And he and I, we just sat there and we just had the longest conversation about life and meditation. And it was really a great conversation. And as this was happening, I was in my place. This is what I was once again remembering, that this is what I am here for. Wherever I go, this is what my life is about. And it was just a great thing. And the interesting thing was, I'd always kind of wanted to have a conversation with him, but I was going to pick his brain about music. Since I make my own music, I figured I would pick his brain about music. It's even in the same genre. But we did talk a little bit about music. I didn't even tell him that I dealt with music. But we spent most of our time talking about meditation. This morning, I was reminded, as everything is coming together, all these information and ideas are coming to me, and I'm just writing them down, and I'm putting stars by all the ones that I'm getting information on, that in which the sounds are ringing real loud as the information is coming. And one of those things that I was remembering was just the enthusiasm for life. The enthusiasm, because with this whole COVID thing, the world is so different, and there's so many things that have been taken out of our lives. A lot of times, it feels like life is so different. I was reminded that some of the things were taken out of my life at the moment, so that I could delve back in deeper into the meditation science and come out of this whole COVID experience where I'm supposed to be, where I've been trying to get to for some time. And I'm remembering all of this, and how, and even just now as I was talking, I was remembering, man, I wasn't going to go down there. Man, I wasn't going to go to Tom's Corner. But when I went, I was brought back into who I am. And really, it hit me more. It hit me more this morning. And then ideas that are going along with my book, the next 30 days, started coming into play. And then I started remembering how my one friend who was also there with us, and he was looking at the website the other day for Positive Guru. He was saying, "What's the next 30 days?" Because he was reading posts, and some of the posts, after the title, it would have the next 30 days. And it's the continuation of 30 days of metaphysics and miracles in our lives. And But now I was really getting a much clearer vision this morning. And I'm ready to really complete that book, and I was getting a vision as to how I'm going to market it and why I'm going to market it and what I'm going to do with it. I was getting more vision as to what I'm going to do, even when it comes to music, and how the music, even in the sphere of music, is secondary to the message. Sometimes I get caught up on the sound, but it's secondary to the message. The message is what it's all about. And I was being reminded about messages that I'm supposed to get out. I was being reminded of of meditations in which I was being told ways in which I am to share into this world. And I was re-energized. I went for a bike ride right after looking at the plants and thinking about the blog post and reading the blog post. I jumped on my bike and I went bike riding this morning, and it was just a beautiful experience. And the whole time I'm thinking about the metaphysics, I'm thinking about the spirituality, and I'm just on a high. And I'm reminded how much I need to water my spiritual plants. I'm reminded about how when I was going to the balcony each morning, I was watering the plants, and I was even putting the amount in which the guy who I got them from was saying I was to pour on each plant each day. But yet, the plants were withering. And I realized that this has been a hot summer. So there are times in which conditions will make us have to step up how much attention we are adding, how much life and energy we are giving, how much, as things get more difficult, as it is a drier, more scorching climate, so to speak, that just like we have to add more more water to those plants, we have to add more meditation to our lives. We have to add more focus to the beauty in our world. And when we do, we will be re-entering the kingdom of heaven. And it will be like adding water to a dying plant. Our world will flourish, sometimes more than it was before in its heyday. But that's what it's all about. It's all about the focus on God, the focus on the kingdom. We're in the kingdom, but we have to focus on the kingdom to realize we're in the kingdom. We have to look at the beautiful ways of heaven. We have to take time to meditate. We have to take time to have discussions like this, or to partake of material like this. We have to take time to read, even if it's just a couple pages a day, or even if it's just one paragraph before going to bed. We have to take time to read poetry that deal with higher thought. We take time to watch television shows that remind us of the beauty and magic. We have to water the plants of our lives. If we do this, we will be pleasantly surprised by the outcome. I'm Craig Kimbrough with Positive Guru. I'd like to thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Until next week, peace and blessings. I feel so fortunate to have you in my world to share this with, and I hope you enjoyed. Peace and blessings.